Good morning, YouTube friends, and welcome to Rosa String Works. My name's Jerry Rosa, and perhaps you've already seen a couple of the videos out there about repairing the violin, or setting up the violin, I should say, and my welcome video. If you haven't seen them, well, Rosa String Works is a business where I've been building and repairing musical instruments for about 30 years. And as promised in the very first video, I said the word restore a Gibson L1, about a 1914-1915, the best I can figure out just by looking at it. It's a guitar, and I use the word restore, and that's probably a little strong. I don't really generally restore old vintage instruments. What I do is, I would call it damage control. And in this case, you'll probably see what I'm talking about. This instrument, when you first glance at it, it looks like it's in reasonably okay shape, but it's had a lot of abuses. It's had a lot of cracks and breaks, and most of those were repaired with, I'm pretty sure, Elmer's glue, and they weren't clamped, so the cracks are pretty wide and open and not lined up, and etc, etc, etc. So basically what I'm going to try to do is undo the amateur stuff, and the end result isn't exactly what you call a restoration. It's going to be a re-grooming, if you will, of the instrument to try to make it look like a well cared for old vintage instrument. That's what I'm trying to make it look like. I'm not going to refinish it or anything like that. Might touch up little spots that are nicked or something like that to try to cover up some of the real abuse. But other than that, it's going to be pretty much left in its original condition when I'm finished. It'll just look like it's been better taken care of. So here it is. I'll hold it up for you and let you see it. It's a, I've already taken all the hardware and the nuts and things off of it, and I'll show you those parts here in just a moment. I'll try to get the peg head up there where you can see it pretty well. You can see it says the Gibson on it, and the nut's been taken off of it. I don't know if you can tell by looking, probably not. This tuning key, you can tell now, is very, very bent. It was worse than that when it came in here. I've already straightened it a little bit. That button has also been replaced. That's a piece of bone of some sort, probably deer antler or something like that. And it matches pretty well. Whoever did that did a pretty good job matching the button. But the key is so bent, I'm not sure how I'm going to fix that yet. I may see if I have a key, at least the metal parts that match pretty well in my scrap box, and maybe replace that, because it wouldn't be so bad if it was just bent. I could straighten it. I've done that a million times. But this one has been filed. That metal is almost filed all the way in two, on top of everything else. So that's really sad. That's the worst part of the whole thing. There is no fixing that to where it won't look like it's been fixed, other than if I happen to have a matching worm gear on the back. If I would happen to have a matching worm gear and post here, I might try to replace that, because like I said, it's been filed nearly in two, which is really terrible. I can't believe they did that. You can see on the back of the neck there's a lot of abuse. Not too much more than normal, probably a lot from capos and rings and different things, scratches up. The fretboard itself is actually in pretty darn good shape. It's not really badly pitted or anything like that. The top has got some major abuses. Again, these were done amateur. I don't know if this is going to show up in the video or not, but there's a big long crack along here, and it's been glued with Elmer's, and it wasn't clamped and glued correctly. Otherwise, the Elmer's, believe it or not, some people think, well, you can't use Elmer's. Actually, Elmer's is not the worst glue you could use. There's a lot worse glues. Elmer's actually works okay on wood. I don't recommend it, don't get me wrong, but it works. And it could have been done well with the Elmer's had they glued it correctly and wiped the excess glue off, but they didn't. There's lots of glue left on here. There is a long body crack also that runs the full length of the guitar. Now, somebody repaired that, and I would say they did a reasonably okay job on that. It's not a great job, but that's one of those fixes where you're probably better off leaving that one alone. You know, if I tried to re-break that and refix that, I would just do more damage than I'd be doing good in this case. I wish I had repaired it. It would probably look better than it does there. But on the other hand, that one's, they say if it's not broke, don't fix it. Well, that's not really broke now. It was broke at one time, but it's not broke now. So we won't be working with that unless it would happen to come loose during the process here. The other worst place on this is the back. And I think you can see pretty well the back has been really messed up. This glue here is Elmer's. They didn't even bother lining the crack up. This is sticking up proud right here. Oh, nearly a quarter inch higher than that is. It probably doesn't show up real good on the video, but it definitely is almost a quarter inch higher than that is. 3/16 anyway. And so that's going to be one of my major things to fix. There are other breaks and cracks around the sides. Here's another amateur fixed crack along here. I am going to try to at least clean that up and maybe make that look better. Maybe re-glue that if I can get that loose. This is been amateur glued also, and it doesn't match up with the sides, the back there, so I'm going to try to cut all that glue out of there, glue it, and re-clamp it and re-glue that, and I think I can do that and maybe make that look where it doesn't look like it's been broke. That's the majority of it. Then I'll be doing a fret job on it, and when I say fret job, I don't mean replacing the frets. I mean re-leveling, re-crowning. There are a lot of pits in the fretboard up here in these first 3 frets, and I'll take all those pits out, level up the fretboard real nice and clean, re-oil the fretboard. It'll almost look brand new. I see a piece of binding missing off the back here, and I'll find an old piece of vintage binding and put that across there. You won't even be able to tell it probably when that's finished. The hardware, let me just show you what it came with. I had already taken this off before I decided to video it, so this is the original pickguard hardware. This mechanism clamps on the side of the guitar right in here, and that holds the pickguard on. I don't know if I can demonstrate this. There are 2 metal pins right here, and the pickguard slides up on those 2 metal pins, and then this other part clamps on the back. There used to be, I'm pretty positive, there used to be a little pin that came off the back of this also that went through the hole in the bridge. There's a hole in this bridge, hopefully you can see that, and I'm pretty sure there was a pin that went through that hole at one time. We'll see if we can recreate that to make that look fairly original also. Here's the old nut. The nut itself is nasty looking, but it can be cleaned up and reused probably. And this is the tailpiece, and as far as I can tell, this is the original tailpiece on there. I'm pretty sure it is because the holes all match up, the old staining around the thing matches up. So if it isn't the original, it was replaced very, very early on. So I'm pretty sure it is the original. And then there is a little tail pin also, which is of no value at all, although I may reuse it. It's a piece of cheap wood though, so it's kind of good and bad. I can tell that it's not real good wood. So I may change that out for ebony possibly. But anyway, that's about it. The old label inside, perhaps you can see it, but you can read the label itself, but the writing, the printing or whatever in the blanks is completely gone. You cannot see it at all. So that's why I'm guessing on the age. And I'm only guessing on the age as a 1914, 1915 because I've seen others out on the internet that look absolutely identical to this one. So therefore I'm pretty sure that's about the age of it. Okay, well that's about it.